Hi there. Are you interested in selling on eBay but afraid of making mistakes? Well, let me tell you about 5 mistakes that I made so hopefully you can learn from my experience and you won't make the same mistakes. Welcome to the Prof Sales channel. This is where we talk about reselling, being an entrepreneur, making money online, and being in business for yourself so that you don't have to work for somebody else. So this channel is all about teaching you things that hopefully you can use to be successful in your own business endeavors, whatever they are. And we're glad you're here. So if it's your first time here, let me know in the comments down below. There's a live show. So there's a live chat room going right now. So there will be people I'll be interacting with. But we're going to jump into the topic. And I'm letting everyone filter in here. And hopefully everyone can hear me okay. And if you cannot, let me know. All right. So this idea of making a mistake on eBay, reselling and making a mistake, how can you avoid it? All right, let me explain what a mistake is. So I wanted to think about a definition for you guys that would make sense. So this is what I define a mistake as, and you may have a different definition, but a mistake is something that you did or did not do that cost you time and or money. It slows down or even reverses your progress. Now, you know, that encompasses a lot of things, but I thought it would be cool if today I took a few moments to talk to you guys about 5 mistakes that I've made, and hopefully you won't make these same ones, or maybe, you know, you won't make them at least to the same degree I did. And hopefully you can use these to learn and, you know, improve, you know, get ahead of the game. Somebody just said to me earlier today, they said, you know, you can figure out how to do just about anything if you have enough time and you can go on and research it. But the reason why you watch people is because you want to get all the information you can packaged very, very quickly for you. Time is always your enemy here. It's always the thing you can never get more of. So you want to get the information quickly and as accurately and completely as you can. So that's why I'm going to give you these mistakes. So learn from my mistakes. These are sort of in order, but sort of not. So let's just jump into them. First mistake that I made that I wish I had done differently was I did not niche down soon enough. So let me explain what I mean by that. The riches are in the niches is a saying that's out there, and it means finding a category to sell in that is, you know, like a narrower focus. Yes, you can go out and find all kinds of things and all kinds of categories to sell, and that's got value, don't get me wrong. But for me, I did not jump into my niches until probably a good 6 months once I started going full time with this. So I was kind of, you know, getting out and selling this and selling that and finding this and finding that. And it was really even a year before I really refined it all down. And I realized that I could have been figuring out things that would have refined my processes and so on, and I could have been a lot more efficient. I would have become a much better seller in the niches I ended up picking had I started that process earlier, but I didn't. And it definitely cost me time and it cost me money because I did not know how to price things. I did not know how to photograph things the best way. I did not know what price I should be paying for them on the front end or how long it would take them to sell. Those are all things that you will learn if you find a niche pretty quickly. Now, that doesn't mean you got to jump in from day one and find a niche, but it's not the worst idea in the world. And if you can do it, I would do it. If you've got an area of expertise, something you're knowledgeable about, go for it right away. See if you can make it work. Learn all you can. You'll already be ahead of the game because you'll have some knowledge. So find a niche right away if you can. So that was my first mistake I made. I didn't find one for several months. The second mistake I made was I did not have an inventory system. That may come as a surprise to some of you who watch this channel a lot. And it's true, though. I did not have an inventory system. It was, I mean, I had a system, and I'm going to put the air quotes up because it wasn't much of a system, guys. I'm going to be totally honest with you. It was just, hey, my stuff is over there in that general area. And when somebody buys something, maybe I'll be able to find it or know where it's at. I didn't have one. And it definitely evolved over time, but I realized that the final 99% of the inventory system that I have now, I came up with probably a few months into the process. I could have done that from day one, actually. An inventory system is something that you can get largely right on day one when you first start selling on eBay. And it's important with eBay because usually you're going to be inventorying this stuff in your home or a storage unit or a spare bedroom or whatever, your garage. So you need to find a system, and you want it to be efficient and organized, right? Why do you want it to be efficient and organized? Because that is profitable for you. When you can find things quickly and where they're supposed to be, you make money because you gain time. You don't lose time that you would if you're going to look for it or you can't find it. I had one just recently that I apparently sold an item that I no longer had, and I went in and looked at the listing, and I'm like, this was a different listing, and I think it was just some sort of glitch in the system because I checked my inventory system, and there was no way that this jean should have been listed, so I was able to track it down. I had to cancel the order, unfortunately, but my system kept me from scratching my head and going, well, where are these jeans? You know, the person bought them. They've got to be here. Nope, I'd actually sold them, and somehow they'd gotten a glitched listing title back through eBay. And I knew that only because of my inventory system. So that's something you can get right off the bat. Number 3, lack of a sourcing strategy. All right, so you've got this niche. You know where you're going to put everything. How are you going to find things to sell? You kind of need to think about this one before you choose the niche. If you decide you want to sell 18th century Fabergé eggs from, Russia, great, or 19th century, whatever century they were, great. Probably not going to find too many of those at your local thrift store. So you're going to need to have a source of supply. And if you don't have any kind of sourcing strategy, once you even find those sources, you're likely to spend a lot of time being out of new sourcing opportunities, not having inventory to list, or you buy things at the wrong price. My area of the country happens to be very plentiful with used clothing, pre-owned clothing. So it sort of made sense to approach some niches that dealt with used clothing. If I were looking for, I don't know, something that would be more seasonal, like a lot of heavy coats and jackets and so on, there just aren't a lot of them in this area of the country. It's a warmer climate. There just aren't that many that are turned into local thrift stores and so on. It would be tougher. I could do it, but it would be tougher. It wouldn't be as plentiful. So you got to kind of know what your sourcing strategy is going to be. You need to think also about like your capital. Are you going to have enough money to buy it? It's great to think you want to, flip MacBooks on eBay, but man, that's going to be expensive. That's going to require a lot of capital. Even if you have a great supply, you're still probably going to have to invest pretty heavily to scale up any sort of business. So having enough capital to source the items you need and the quantity you need is important. You're going to need some routes to do it. You're going to need to find the best ways around your town, around your area to get to this inventory. I did not have that when I started. I knew that theoretically there were things out there for me to sell, but where they were at and how I was going to get them. And I kind of tried a little bit of everything. And I still kind of go back to certain strategies and sourcing techniques and so on from time to time. But ultimately, I just winged it, and it was not always the best. There's all different ways to do this. There's all different ways to figure out sourcing routes and areas to get sourcing things to source. But you've got to come up with some sort of routine for it too. Like for instance, if you're going to source yard sales, well, you're not going to do that usually on Tuesdays. If Tuesday's your only day to go sourcing, most people don't have a yard sale on a Tuesday. That doesn't make much sense. If you're going to do estate sales, those are likely going to be on the weekends. If you're going to, find things online, you're going to need a way to get them shipped to you probably into your home. You're going to need a process to inspect those things and make sure they were what you thought you were getting. You're going to need an internet connection, just even the simplest of things. So you have to have a sourcing strategy, whatever it is you decide to sell. And when I started, I did not really have one, and that sort of got refined over time as well. It's gotten better, but I could have done a better job at the beginning had I taken a little more time to research. My good buddy Luke at Endless Entrepreneurs put a quote today up on his channel and from his morning motivation series, and it was from Abraham Lincoln, and it said, basically, if you give me an axe and tell me to chop down a tree, I'm going to spend 4 hours sharpening the axe. Or if you tell me I got 6 hours to chop it down, I'm going to spend 4 hours sharpening the axe. The point was, be prepared and get your equipment ready. Getting ready like that. You can do all that before you spend the first dollar. And coming with a sourcing strategy makes a lot of sense. So that was my third biggest mistake I made right off the bat. Number 4, not understanding seasonality. For all you clothing resellers out there in the chat right now, let me know if you had any idea right off the bat that your sales were going to drop off some points of the year if you sold certain types of clothing. I underestimated the drop-off amount for the items I sourced, like jeans, for instance. I totally underestimated. The first year I did it for sure. And it's a big drop. And when you have that big drop, that affects all your other plans. Like now you don't have the capital to source the things you were getting because you're not selling as much. And if you're not selling as much, you're not bringing as much revenue, you're not bringing as much profit. That cascades through your business, even your personal finances, everything. And clothing is a seasonal item. And there's other things that are seasonal too, like, pool supplies. People tend to buy those a certain time of year. Home improvement items, things like that. Other things don't really have as much of a seasonality to them, or there will be smaller dips. And it really just depends on what you're selling. But a lot of products that are out there do have a seasonal component to them. If you don't understand when there's going to be peak seasons, you're not going to be ready for them. You're not going to have your max listings up for the year. I mean, if you're selling, wouldn't it be great if you're selling clothing to have max listings going in the fall, which is traditionally the strongest time when the sales really pick up? It doesn't make sense to have max listings in May when you're about ready to head towards a really slow period. So ideally, you'd love to have max listings all the time, but that's not reality for most of us because of the way, our sourcing goes, and our capital budget drops down when our sales drop. When sales drop, unless you saved up money, which is not the worst idea, you're not going to have money to be sourced. So if you could identify when your category, your niches are going to be very, very popular and selling the most, you can back up from that and say, all right, well, when do I need to buy and list the most to be able to take advantage of this seasonal pop that my items are about to get? So seasonality, not understanding that, killed me. It still hurts me somewhat. I'll be totally honest with you. But I've gotten better at it for sure. All right, so that was our fourth eBay mistake that Prof has made. And that brings us to our last one. And I'll just see here in the chat, is anyone able to figure out what my last biggest mistake is? Let's see if anybody's able to pick up on it or not. And it's a pretty common mistake that a lot of us eBayers make. So I'm going to give everybody a moment to take their best guesses at the last mistake. And I would argue it's the biggest mistake that all of us on eBay make. So we'll see if anybody's able to do that. Some people are saying they sell fishing reels in the summer, but they don't find a lot. Yeah, probably true. People are out using them. Shipping, shoes, people are making guesses. Nope, those are not it. Let's see. I wish we get an early snowstorm here. Shipping is not it. Shipping, I figured out pretty quickly, honestly. Pretty quickly, I figured out how to ship and get it right. Titles, shipping costs related, all good guesses. Organization, nope. That one you can learn. Dropping prices too low, managing your time, shipping cost errors. I can't believe it. You guys are missing the biggest one that everybody, what will hurt your sales the worst? What's the biggest mistake you can make on eBay? All right, I gave you a little clue there. Inventory, nope, that's not it either. Pictures, somebody's going to get it. I feel like somebody's going to get it any moment now. Damaged items, man, you guys are all around it. Bad inventory, photos. Gosh, these are great guesses. There it is. Michelle Lathan wins the prize for the day. Not listing consistently. There it is. Guys, and some other people are coming on it too. That is by far the biggest mistake I've ever made on eBay. And I'll be totally honest with you. I still make that one sometimes. Sometimes I don't have any choice. If you're Someone said not watching Prof sales. That's pretty funny. Sometimes you don't have a lot of choice. If you screwed up your capital budget and you don't have any money to buy things, it's going to be tough to list things, right? Because you don't have anything to buy. But if you have items sitting there in your death pile, in your going to get to later pile, and you're got to get them ready and up and going pile, whatever, you are not, and you're not listing items, you're not being consistent. And I'm going to tell you why that is the biggest mistake that eBayers make that could be avoided, and that I've made as well, is because when you don't list, you're not telling eBay that new items are coming into your store or your listings on your account. And there's a real strong correlation from all accounts that listing regularly pushes up your other items in search. Why do we say that? Because eBay has to re-index your listings when they see new things coming in. What I find is when I don't list and my sales drop and then I list again, the things I list don't necessarily sell. It's other items that I had listed before that start selling, which gives even more credence to the theory that eBay likes frequent listings. Now, why would they like frequent listings? Well, if I was a business and I was running an auction site or an e-commerce site like eBay or Amazon, I would want new things always coming in so that my buyers would have something cool and different to look at all the time, right? And I would also set up my system to think, well, whenever something new gets posted, I need to go in and kind of look at that store, that seller's items, and see, and maybe give them a little push, a little bump. I don't know if eBay does that 100%, but you can kind of understand, like if you ever walked in a store, a retail store, a brick and mortar store, where they have the same things week after week, month after month. And I don't mean like staple goods, like things you buy all the time, like toothpaste. I mean just sort of the same seasonal products. It doesn't make sense. Like you even see this in our thrift stores. When you get to summer, the heavy winter stuff sort of gets condensed down. And as we move into fall, it expands back out again. Why? Because they know that that's what people are looking for at that time of year. Just makes sense. So when you don't list consistently, you're not giving yourself every opportunity to succeed on eBay. The other thing you're not doing when you don't list consistently is that you are not taking your business as serious as you should. And I'm just going to say it as plain and as blunt as that. And I will point the finger at myself. I have been guilty of this. And so I'm not excluding myself from this. When you don't list consistently, you are not acting as professionally as you could towards your business, and you're not going to get as good results. It's that simple. It would be just like running a brick and mortar store and you're not consistently pulling in new items, moving things around, keeping your merchandising up. You're not doing what it takes to give yourself the best chance to succeed. And that's a mistake, guys. I mean, that's a mistake that's costing you money. It's costing you results. No question about it. And you're going to find that when you do list consistently, your sales are going to be more consistent. You're not necessarily going to blow it out of the water. Your sales totals rely on a lot of factors, some of which you don't control. But you do control how consistent you list. I have even found something about changing pricing that I'm going to share a little bit later in this show and its effect on it too. But listing inconsistency is by far the biggest and also the most prevalent mistake that I have made over the last several years, and it's avoidable. Times where I can honestly say I had nothing to list. Those number of times would be less than like 5 times. Maybe 5 instances in the last 3 or 4 years. So I can't really say that it's because, well, I just didn't have anything to list. Other excuses I could come up with, and none of them were good. So I'm just going to point the finger at myself, but I'm going to ask you to take a good hard look in the mirror and say, hey, is that a mistake that you're making? Results. When you have crappy results, it's sometimes a result of crappy effort on your part. So you've got to put in the effort, and listing is like the minimal thing, important thing you could do that is going to help you get better results. So there's your 5 things: not niching down sooner, a lack of a sourcing strategy, not understanding a seasonality of your business, and not being consistent with your listing. So I hope those were helpful before, but guys, you know, somebody asked me about this the other day. Hey, why do you repeat things sometime? Like, well, that's kind of the only way we learn things. And I learn as much from this show as you guys do. So I have to repeat them to myself sometimes. And that's the way we learn. We have to hear it sometimes over and over and over before we get it, before it sinks in. Hopefully those are helpful, but take them to heart, and I think you'll find a lot of great results from that. So Krillin, thank you very much for the super chat, my friend. Krillin's a great friend of the show. He said, do you try the promoted listings on used clothes yet? Talk a little bit more about that in just a moment, Krillin, so hang on to that thought. But don't let me forget to talk about that. But a couple quick reminders, guys. We got like almost 90 people in here. So thank you very much for that. If you would do me a favor, if you're enjoying the content, hit the like button down below. It lets me know I'm doing a good job. It lets YouTube know I'm doing a good job. I really appreciate it. And of course, if you're new to the show, leave me a leave me a comment down below. If you're watching this later, or if you're here in the chat, let me know that it's your first time watching the show. I'd like to get your opinion because I never know how something comes across. I was telling somebody something today about what I thought about a certain term, and they were just couldn't believe that that's what I got from that term. Like, it totally didn't come off the way they had thought. It wasn't like a bad thing or anything. It was just, I totally had a different interpretation. It was pretty funny. And they were like, wow, I didn't do a very good job explaining that. And it's like, and maybe they did. I just interpreted it differently. But I don't know how well I'm doing unless you guys tell me. And if it makes sense to you, if it's valuable, if it's useful. And I do take all the feedback to heart. I try my best to give you what I think will help you and be impactful. And I do appreciate the comments and the constructive criticism. It is valued. And even if I don't agree with it, I still value it. And I do appreciate it. You don't have to list 100 things a day to be consistent. I'm going to take a few comments here. 10 or 15 a day is fine. If you don't sell 10 things a day, you're still growing. Yep, totally agree with that, Yard Time. Absolutely. What's your opinion about a virtual lister? I think it could be great, Valerie, if you can make that system work for you, sure. You know, you're probably going to pass some photos, I guess, and they're going to do listings maybe. I mean, there's plenty of people who do it that way, and they've scaled successfully doing that. I don't see any issue with it. But, you know, it's just like anything else. You're still going to have to provide that person with enough product to list. You're going to have to provide them with photos and justify it. You know, the cost of having, I mean, because you're basically acting like you're an employee, and you're going to need to justify the cost based on what you're selling. You know, is it really worth it given what you're paying this person? And in a lot of cases it is, because you're getting a very cheap rate per item. But you've got to make sure that you've, you know, figured all that out before you start just throwing them a bunch of photos and saying, hey, go list this. And you got to follow up on their work and make sure they're doing a good job. Kelly says, I'm guilty of not listing and complaining about slow sales. Preach it, sister. Me too. We all, I mean, I dare say 95% of the people watching this show are. Is there a magic number for an amount of daily listings or not known? I'm not sure what you mean a magic number by, like that'll, I don't know. No, I don't think there is. But I think one is better than none, honestly. Listing is the least favorite part. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of listing. I mean, it's okay. Sometimes it's a little clunky. I wish it was a little simpler sometimes, but maybe it's as simple as it can be. V. Pierce says, I've learned so much from you guys. I'm a newbie. Thank you, V. Pierce. Appreciate V. Pearson. Sorry, I didn't get that right. Thank you very much for that comment. That was very nice of you to say. So we're glad you're here. I don't mind listing, but I hate listing men's dress shirts. Don't we all? I mean, that Luke guy, what does he know? No, just kidding. No, but yeah, men's dress shirts, you do get a lot of wrinkles. We have a steamer that we use sometimes when we list those. It works pretty well. It was about 30 bucks, I guess, maybe 25. And, you know, it'll steam out the wrinkles pretty well in a pinch. I really don't want to throw them in the dryer and waste the power. I'd rather do it with the steamer. Pricing. I lose time checking comps sold to decide on a price for used clothes. Thinking of changing to set pricing. Your thoughts? Well, Lizzie Lou, that's a great question. If you can make a set price work for your cost of goods, your profit you're going to make on it, your time and energy you're going to put into it, I would say do that. That would simplify a lot of things. I've recently gone to more tiered pricing with jeans to simplify pricing and repricing and, dropping them down. And I think it has there's a lot of benefit to that system, because now you're not constantly going in there trying to, a lot of times you're quibbling over a couple bucks one way or another. And is it really worth it? Is it worth, could you price a whole category items at $20 versus occasionally sometimes you could price it at $22? I don't know if it's worth taking the time to research that item to find out if that extra $2 is really going to get, if you're really going to get that price for it or not in a reasonable time frame. So I would say if you can do some sort of single point pricing, some tiers like you're talking about, I would do it. I absolutely would do it. I used to not think that way, but then I realized all that time that I was putting into figuring out, whether I should move the price of this item up 10% or 20%, I could be listing another item. I could be buying another item. I could be, photographing another item. I could be doing something else, because you really want to get that item and get it done as quick as possible and just move on to the next item, or move on to whatever else it is you're doing in your day. So the more time you spend researching that price, you're losing money every minute you spend on that. So I would absolutely go to tier pricing if you can make it work for you. I bought a steamer, great item. Yep. I love my steamer. How to get pictures. Let's see. Carmen wants to know how to get pictures for products posted properly. What system to use? I have a hard time transferring my images from my phone. Great question, Carmen. So in our case, we take photos with our iPhones and we create a shared folder that I share with my Mac. So it's nice. They're both Apple products. They work really well together. So let's say, I list, these shoes for, and I take 10 photos of them, let's just say. So I will upload those 10 photos and along with all the other photos I've taken recently to that shared folder. Then I will go into my Mac when I'm doing my listings, and when I need the photos for that item, I just pull them straight out of the shared folder off of my Mac. That way I'm not really having to, do anything else. Now, the downside of that is you need to kind of keep those items organized and together. Otherwise, you just got this big folder full of items, and you could lose track of which one's which. And that gets really tricky with jeans sometimes because they look very similar. So, but we find that works best. And then we just delete the photos after we're done with them. We just empty the folder and then wait for the next batch. Or you can leave them in there, whatever you want to do. But that's how we do it. But there's a lot of different ways to do photos, and, whatever your technology will allow you to do that's efficient, that's what I would do. I think most people have slow sales because they keep trying to sell the same things instead of being dynamic with the market. Yeah, Krillin, I agree. If you can get 2 or 3 niches going, which I advocate, and some of which, you can sort of offset, maybe this one will slow down in a certain time of year or for a certain reason, but this one will pick up. Absolutely. I just don't like the whole go super wide, but not very deep approach where you try to sell everything. I think especially for beginners, that is way too overloaded. You can find some niches and really go after them. Flipper Joe says, I sell everything, so sales are never slow. Well, it's a matter of opinion, though, Flipper Joe. If you haven't done a different model, you don't really know that. For a lot of people, when you look at the companies that are, I've said this before, but when you look at the companies out there that are really successful in the world, they're successful for a reason. And a lot of times that reason is they understand their customer, their market, their product. And they don't sell everything to everybody. That's the thing. Like a car company, doesn't sell art supplies. If you don't walk into the Ford dealership and expect to buy some colored pencils. Doesn't work that way because it's not who they're geared at. They're providing cars for people. conversely, Michael's doesn't sell cars, you know, the chain store Michael's. Now, granted, they do sell other products, but they're, you know, arts and craft kind of people, and people are looking for those sorts of items. I mean, I think trying to be all things to all people is a mistake. And trying to sell all the thingies, as Karin would say, you know, in every category is not really, it's not really doable. And yes, there are aggregators such as the big discount chains, the Walmarts and Targets, but that requires incredibly complex inventory and sourcing that the average eBayer is not going to be able to handle. I mean, think about if you had to try to sell in 50 different niches at once, which in a Target or Walmart, there's way more than 50 niches. But if you had to sell in that many, you'd go nuts. You'd go nuts trying to learn all those things and be able to find all those things and at the right price. And how's the market for this now? Oh, no way. Jason, can you post an affiliate link for the Steamer you use? I'll look for it, Adam. I don't have an affiliate link for it, but I'll see if it's on Amazon. It might be. I think I don't remember where I got it. I think I got it at Target, but I'll look for it. I'll make a note of it. That's pretty funny. Steamer link. Let's see. Do you already use an all white background? If not, you're going to switch. Our background is kind of a creamish, beigeish color, so we probably need to make it a little whiter. I do like an all white background for clothing. I think it's less distracting. I think buyers tend to respond to it better. If you had a model, that would be great too. But the problem is, guys, like, and this goes back to like your photography. When you're trying to photograph things, if you're far away from them, like even on a mannequin, it gets very difficult to get the pictures right a lot of times. It gets difficult to get the lighting right. It gets difficult to get the color right. And it's hard for people to see detail. Now, that can be fine for certain things where it doesn't matter as much. But when you're dealing with something like jeans or even shoes that have, you know, sometimes stitching or certain embellishments you want people to be able to see, if you're shooting that from 7 feet away, it's going to be very difficult for them to zoom in and see that. So then you got to take another photo of it, you know, and it complicates things. So I love a flat lay and like just a white background for items, but it's definitely whatever you can make work for you. If you're better, I'm probably not the best photographer, so maybe that's maybe that's part of the reason why, but just my personal preference. Oh, Krillin says, if you sell jeans, styles change all the time. Gotcha, Krillin. Gotcha. Okay. Yep. Totally misunderstood there. My bad. I found my steamer for $5. Nice. Hey, whatever works. A steamer, I mean, they're kind of cheap, so don't spend a lot of money on one if you can avoid it. But do get one that works. That's important. And won't like shoot water all over your clothes. Let's see. Steamers are a game changer for dress shirts and suits. Yeah, totally agree. They're cheap. I mean, you know, get a cheap one and try it. I don't use them for jeans because, first of all, it wouldn't work that great. And second of all, there's just no reason usually. I mean, jeans are usually not super, super wrinkled. If jeans are super wrinkled, they probably came like right out of the washing machine and never went in a dryer or just got balled up. And, you know, and that's why. But a couple other things I wanted to cover really quick with you guys. One is we have our sourcing opportunity tomorrow. Really excited about that. Karin gets back tonight. She's been up there visiting with Lauren. Karin is in the air as we speak, I believe. I'm pretty sure her plane's already taken off. And so she'll be home in a few hours. And that's exciting. So I'll be really glad she's back. And we are going to our super secret sourcing opportunity. I don't know if I'm allowed to even talk about it yet, but I'll give you guys some more updates on that. And but I have an opportunity tomorrow to get some really good sourcing at a really great price, and I'm really excited about that. I'm going to talk about another. Don't let me forget. I'm going to talk about on Friday. You guys can hold me accountable. This is my goal. Friday, we're going to talk about. It's true. The Prof has. I've broken down. There's this rumor going around, and it's true. I have taken out my first PayPal loan, working capital, they call it. I love how they don't like to call it a loan. Like they don't want you to make it. They don't want, like, it's not a loan, it's working capital. So I'm going to give you guys the ins and outs of that experience and what I did and why I did what I did. And you guys can come on and grill me and rake me over the coals if you want. But I'm going to share with you my thoughts on it. And what my thoughts were and why I did it. So, yep. But we're going to do that Friday. I'm not going to do it today because I feel like I need to devote a whole show to it. But I actually did it over the weekend, but I kind of wanted to get a little bit of feel for it before I really talked about it on a show topic. So Friday, we will talk about the PayPal loan. Some of you may have some experience with this, some of you don't, but it'll be interesting. And this is my first one, so we'll see. But we'll talk more about that on Friday, so don't even forget. But the big sourcing opportunity tomorrow is going to be cool. It's not liquidation. It's basically a consignment shop that is getting rid of some things. So I'm going to be able to get it really cheap. And so I'm really excited about that. And here we go. People are already saying, no debt, no debt. Here we go. So anyway, here come the comments. I should have called this show 5 reasons to get a PayPal loan. That would have been a whole different show. Maybe that's what we'll do on Friday. So I promise you I will get more into it Friday. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on it today. I just feel like it's its own topic altogether because obviously borrowing money is always a tricky path to navigate. And I'm no different than anybody else. And I did my due diligence. I did my research. I ran some numbers. I figured out, a lot of things about, why I wanted to go this route. And, we'll see. But I will give you guys the whole skinny on that on Friday. So I don't want to spoil too much of that. I did want to talk about for just a few moments. So, and you guys, I'd like to get your guys' opinion on this. This changing pricing. Now, we talked about earlier, and Krillin, this is for you because you were asking about the whole promoted listings. Yes, I went on and made all of my listings promoted by eBay and paid. I'm basically paying them a 5% fee to advertise my items across the platform. All my listings. I just decided to do all of them. Like I couldn't think of a great reason to do only part of them. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try with all of them and see what happens. And I don't know if I've had an uptick or not, but the sales have been better for sure. Is it due to that? I don't know. We'll see. I need to give it a little longer before I, come in on the side of whether it's, but, and for those of you who don't know, this promoted listings idea is that you charge eBay charges you a fee when your item sells to market it in other places on the platform. So it'll show up, somebody could be searching for something random and your listing might show up on their page and they could click on and go to and buy it. When it sells, you pay eBay a commission. A percentage of the sale goes to them. It's basically a marketing fee, basically is what they're charging you. They're charging to market it even further across the platform, not just in search when somebody searches for it and they see your item, but it could be in other places on the platform. The idea being, well, you don't pay anything until it sells. So the idea being you're paying them to market it and hopefully to increase your sales. I chose a 5% amount. I think you can choose up to 20. I believe, which I thought was kind of high. 20 seems pretty high to me. I don't know, but we'll see. But one thing I have been noticing lately that I think also might increase your sales. I don't know. I told you guys I went to this tiered pricing structure with jeans that, I'm going to start them at this price. And the next month I'll drop them 1 penny. The next month I'll drop them 1 penny. And then finally I'll get them down to like a set price and they'll just stay there and become good till canceled. The idea being that I can move items out, I know where they're at in the life cycle by what their price is. I know how long they've been listed at that price or since, I put them on. So I can kind of figure out if I want to just try to get them to a price where I think they'll move with pretty regular, at pretty regular intervals. And I've noticed that even if I haven't listed in a day, but I've gone in and changed my pricing on items, that, items that dropped out from 30-day listings that need to be relisted, it seems to give me a sales bump. I don't know. I mean, I'm not doing a sell similar. I'm literally doing a relist and changing the pricing of pretty much all the items, but not necessarily. I don't know if that's true or not. You could argue maybe it pushes the algorithms to sort of look at your listings again, and therefore they're gonna, give you a push up because there's the algorithm. the search is seeing something new. The search engine is seeing something new about your listing, so it has to go in and re-index it, and maybe it gets displayed to people again, because, oh, some pricing change, or we're going to push these people's listings out. I don't know how eBay does it, but I don't know. Has anyone else noticed that if you go in and change the listing or change the price of a significant number of items, your sales get a bump? And I don't know what a significant number is. Usually I'll have on a day, I'll have anywhere from like 20 to maybe 60 or even 80 drop out that I have to go in and relist. I don't know. I'd be curious to see if anybody else watching, or maybe if you're watching this afterwards in the chat, or if you're watching in the comments down below, have you ever seen this, that the listing, that changing the pricing on a chunk of your listings in a day that have fallen out and are no longer listed now pushes up your sales, even without the whole list thing? I'm not going to sit here and suggest that, even if that's true, I'm not going to sit here and suggest you should just quit listing and just manipulate your prices around to try to get your items pushed back up in search. I'm not going to suggest that. I'm not going to go that far. But I feel like there could be something to this. It's sort of like a hack. So say you're in a situation where you really don't have a lot of capital to go out and buy new items, or you've pretty much listed out what you have. You could go in and change the price on 20 items, and see if that pushes up your sales. I don't know. I don't know for sure, but it seems, just anecdotally, just looking at it, eyeballing it, which I'm never a huge fan of, it seems to make a difference, but I don't know. Some people in the chat are saying that they've noticed it. Switching picks around can do that also. Oh, that's interesting, Janetta. I never thought about that. Switch the picks around. Again, you're forcing eBay to kind of look at that listing again and make a determination, if it needs to re-index it for search, possibly. I've changed to a higher price and it's sold when I had the lower price on them. I know, isn't that funny, DJ, how that works? Sometimes raising the price will make your item sell. I don't even know why, but I wanted to try this experiment. Some friends of mine and I were talking about eBay the other day privately, and we were talking about somebody had really good click-through and sell-through. Well, I don't know what their sell-through was, but they had really good click-through, and they were consistently higher in price than most of the other items in their categories. Like, they were at the top. And the idea was that maybe only the really serious buyers were looking at those. And because they did, when they saw that price, they clicked on them. So eBay saw a high click-through rate. So it was pushing their listings up in search all the time, saying, hey, a lot of people are clicking on this listing, so maybe other people want to click on it. I'd want to try that. Like, it'd be fun to take like 50 pair of jeans and just price them, I don't know, 10% above the highest price in their category, for that jean. And just see what their sell-through is in a given, I don't know, maybe 3 months. Give it 3 months. I might try it. It'd be kind of a fun experiment. If I do it, I'm not going to tell anybody which ones they are, because I don't want you guys clicking on them and you're like, oh, why has Prof got that so high? That's going to screw up my experiment. But I think it'd be kind of fun to do. So maybe I'll do something like that and then share the results with you guys down the road. But I think it'd be interesting to see if you can sort of game the system a little bit there. I mean, you're not really doing anything wrong, because you don't really know what the market is for an item until you price it, and then it either sells or it doesn't. And there's always going to be somebody who sold the most expensive one. Might as well be me. But I don't know if it'll work or not. But I would be willing to take maybe 50 pair of jeans and just try an experiment. Like, nothing special about them, just any 50. Doesn't matter which ones they are. I don't think necessarily, but it'd be a fun experiment. Some people are saying they don't think the sell similar works. Well, and it's possible, in the past that sell similar worked better than it does now. It's possible eBay has tinkered with that part of their platform. We don't know. I don't really understand why they have some of these options. They're kind of quirky to me. Like, they've almost got too many choices. Like, I don't know why they've got so many time frames for listings. I think they could probably take a couple of those out and be just fine. But I don't know. It sort of confuses sellers sometimes, and they're like, well, what's the best, for this? I don't know. Does using Markdown Manager on Good Till Cancel increase sales? Great question, Elizabeth. I don't know. I think markdowns in general increase sales. So I see no reason why they wouldn't increase sales on a Good Till Cancel. But I don't know the answer to that for sure. Let's see here. I guess if you price a good brand item low, people might think it's fake. Yeah, I think so too, DJ. I think people have funny perceptions of quality based on price sometimes. And that can change, whether or not they buy it or don't buy it. It's really a funny thing. Again, we've talked about this before. If you walk into a car dealership and they're selling BMWs and they're priced at $5,000 brand new, you would think, what is wrong with this BMW that it's selling for $5,000 brand new? Something's got to be wrong. That doesn't make sense, right? You have this perception about what it should cost, and I think that happens too with items sometimes too. But that's why I don't worry about when people say, hey, I want to sell this item, but somebody just sold a pair for $3. Well, great, but there's 95 other people over here selling it for $30. So sell for $30. Don't worry about that person. Who knows what they did or why they did it. They may have just, been trying to dump it and get rid of it. I don't know. What else? Let's see. Lots of great comments today. 107 people. Thank you guys for watching today and coming on. I promise Karen will be back Friday unless something weird happens. But she was gone for both days. She's been hanging out up there in Minnesota, right? You got to say it like that, right? Minnesota. Is that how they say it, Minnesota? I probably got that wrong. I probably just offended people in Minnesota. Sorry, Lauren, or whoever else is there. Let's see what else is going on in the comments. Pricing is for perception of quality. Yeah, I think so. Markdown hasn't paid off for me. Yeah, gosh, markdowns. That's a whole nother, that should be a show in and of itself. Like, how do you get people to buy something? What does a markdown really tell them? I don't know. We all want to think, you just drop it low and it'll sell, but that doesn't work a lot of times. And even if it does, sometimes you don't make any money on it. It's like, man, I hate selling stuff. Like, I feel like a bigger retailer who's got cash flow coming in from multiple locations, some more profitable than others, can absorb some low margin sell through, even a loss occasionally. I don't think a lot of eBayers can absorb that. Like, I can't, if you told me tomorrow, hey, you're going to have to sell 15% of your inventory at a loss, I would say I'm getting in a new business because that does not sound appealing to me. But there are bigger businesses who can do that and absorb it because they're making so much margin and they got such scale because it's such a scale business with them. But we're not, most of us are not at that level, guys, where we can be scaled to that point where we can accept losing money or losing so much margin on an item. So I would not, I don't like that model. Minnesota. Oh yeah, I got it right, Lauren. I kind of got it. Okay. All right, cool. Krillin's got a True Religion Gene video. Dang it, Krillin. All right. I'm watching that video right now after this. Or send me a link to it or something. You can put you can't put a link in here. It'll probably automatically block it out. I had a note to do that last time. I'm watching it right after we get done with this. Promise. Yeah, open that up. He's asked me like several times. Sorry about that. I'm the worst about watching other people's videos sometimes. Okay. So what else? It's Wednesday. Yeah. So yeah, with pricing, guys. Oh, you're going to have to find your way on it. I don't know if there's a magic formula for pricing. I wish there was, but I've never found it, and I don't think anybody else has. You guys are funny. One other thing I want to say too, guys, I mentioned this on Monday, but I talked with a friend of mine who's a lawyer, who is a lawyer, and I mentioned this whole, from the show I did the other day about, are you breaking the law on eBay? And then someone reached out to me saying they were a lawyer and saying, hey, you might be giving legal advice. You shouldn't do that. It's against the law. He watched the video and he said, you didn't break the law. You didn't tell people that you were a lawyer. You didn't charge them for money. You didn't tell them exactly what they should do. Like I didn't meet any of the criteria for practicing law without a law degree or without a legal certification. So moral of the story is have a friend who's a lawyer. You never know you need him, but he's a good friend. And but I just want to reiterate, you guys, like I would never tell you to go do something 100% because I don't know your situation, and I am certainly not an expert. I'm literally not an expert really in anything, and so I'm never going to give you a quote unquote expert opinion. You know, I'm an expert on Jason. That's about it, and I'm not even an expert on Karin, but she laughed. She heard that, but it just reminded me, guys, like whenever you hear somebody on the YouTube talking about, you know, professional topics like law or accounting or anything like that, always good to go get an opinion from somebody who is a professional. Most of us who are content creators are not professionals. We do not have specialized training. We do not have certifications, and we're not really qualified to give a professional opinion. We can give our opinion, but that doesn't make it a professional opinion. And we tend to forget things or overlook this or magnify that when it shouldn't be. And I would say you could even make that case with, you know, what we talk about a lot on here, being in business and so on. I don't think most YouTube content creators, quote unquote, are experts on things. I think the ones who are wise would probably tell you, hey, I'm not an expert. I'm still learning just like everybody else. I can share my experience, my perception, my take on it, but I can't pass myself off as, you know, some sort of eBay expert or business expert. And I saw another content creator show the other day talking about that and talking about, you know, beware of all these other people and so on. I don't think you have to beware. I think you just got to take every piece of advice with a grain of salt and realize that we're all coming at this from a different perspective. You know, we're going to be similar. You know, Luke and I talk about this all the time. Luke and I are very similar in our approach and mindset about a lot of things, but we have a few differences too. And they're logical differences. You know, they're not, you know, different perspective, different take on it. And it's not like I think he's wrong or he thinks I'm wrong. We just view it a little differently, approach it differently. And that's a good thing, because I know some people are going to connect better to him with those topics, and some are going to connect better to me, and then some will connect better to somebody totally different. But I'm always wary of anyone who pushes himself off as an expert on really anything, because there are very few experts in the world. and the people that are experts will usually tell you, yeah, I know some things, but I'm always learning new things, even if I am an expert. And that's a true expert. They realize they still have things they can learn. They haven't learned it all, because nobody knows it all. But just in general, when you have a professional question about, you know, these topics, do seek professional advice. Don't listen to somebody on YouTube just because they've got a platform. Me included. If I say something to you and you're like, Prof said it must be true. No, not necessarily. I can absolutely have been wrong. I've been wrong thousands of times, and I'll be wrong thousands more, I'm sure. I've probably been wrong during this show at some point, but I always want to say that to you guys just to make sure that I would feel really bad if I gave anyone, you know, incorrect professional type advice about something and it caused them damage or harm or, you know, financial harm or mental anguish or whatever. So I try to be very cautious about saying those things. And I only want, you know, somebody watching me to go out and do things that would be good for them and good for their business and good for them as a person and all those things. But anyway, that's my caveat. That's my spiel on that. So I will not talk about the breaking the law video anymore. So I just want to get that out there. Let's see if there's any last questions here right at the end. Why do so many people advise against eBay's recommended pricing? Because it's weird. It's weird to sell. It doesn't usually mean anything. Like, I don't even know where that number comes from. I'm sure there's some sort of formula they got there. Yeah, and like someone said, Dee said, they don't know what you paid for the item either. That's right. Like, they're just looking at a sale price. I've had eBay tell me I should sell some of my jeans for 99 cents. in their recommended listings or recommended upgrades. And I'm like, you are crazy, eBay. And that's because somebody did sell them for 99 cents. Great. Good for them. I'm not going to do that. But so I just don't even look at it at all. Let's see. And you guys already answered too. It's really difficult to lose money when you make your money back from 3 to 4 items to the bins and still have 50 to sell after that from the same haul. Sure, absolutely. Prof implies professionalism. Actually, it implies professor. That's what it stands for, not professional. Just to be clear, I'm not the professional sales guy. Although, I don't know. I guess it could work for that too, right? Professional. I don't know. Let's see. Thanks for the great tips. Okay. All right, guys. Well, listen, that's going to do it for this video today. Thank you guys for coming out. Over 100 people, a lot of the show. So thank you very much for that. Much appreciated. Please hit the like button on your way out. There's a subscribe link in the description below where you can check out, you can subscribe. And that way, like when I go live or put out a video, you'll see it come up your email. You don't have to come back to the channel every time. And I do appreciate you guys coming out today. I hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday. Karin should be back on Friday. We're going to talk about this PayPal loan thing. Lord help us. But it should be a lot of fun, and it should be interesting. And I'll try to have something intelligent to say by that time. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday. Try not to make those 5 mistakes. Check them out at the beginning of the video if you didn't see it, the first 15, 20 minutes. And I will see you all real soon. So this is Prof Sales, and good sales to you.